Story 1. Our entire reproductive cycle, pregnancy, and childbirth. I will never do it. Genuinely, my biggest fear is being pregnant. Story 2. Healthcare. Getting doctors to listen and try to find out the problem instead of attributing everything to hormones, weight issues, and so on. Story 3. The hormonal changes every month are intense. I have not had a period in over a year, but I remember there being only 1 week each month when I felt like myself. The rest of the month, I was very irritable and sad. Story 4. Being expected to take the whole mental load, children's appointments, parties, birthday cards, and presents for the entire family, organizing holidays, packing when going away as a family, planning meals, and more, while also being an excellent mother and maintaining a full-time career to contribute 50% of the bills is challenging. We are expected to do all the tasks our grandmothers did, only they did not need to work and the pressure was not as high. Story 5. Wish I could remember who wrote this, but it hit home so hard that I copied it into my notes on my phone. Be quieter so they like you. Be outgoing so they like you. Be well-spoken so they like you. Don't make mistakes so they like you. Be less perfect so they like you. Be sexy so they like you. Don't be too sexy so they like you. Be happy so they like you. Try not to look too happy so they like you. Hide your tears so they like you. Be vulnerable so they like you. Be thinner so they like you. Be curvy so they like you. Be athletic so they like you. Be natural so they like you. Put in effort so they like you. Agree so they like you. Be assertive so they like you. Love your body so they like you. Don't show off your body so they like you. Don't be clingy so they like you. Pay them more attention so they like you. Show them your brains so they like you. Don't come off too smart so they like you. Look successful so they like you. Don't look too successful so they like you. Share accomplishments so they like you. Don't brag so they like you. Be real so they like you. Just not too real so they like you. Story 6. You are never safe from being sexually assaulted. Even if you are unattractive, even if the person is a platonic friend. Edit. I am a man, but I think this is a very dangerous part of living as a woman. Story 7. They conducted a survey a few years ago asking men and women about their biggest fear regarding dating applications. For men, it was that the woman is heavier than she appears in her pictures. For women, it was being murdered. That says a lot. Story 8. Being judged, involuntarily competing with other insecure women, beauty standards, being blamed for our own sexual assault or harassment periods, the pressure to have children, the pressure to maintain a certain weight consistently, having to learn to protect our bodies as children while we develop because older men start looking at us inappropriately, our bodies being policed. I could continue. Story 9. Being expected to be emotionally quiet at all times, while also knowing how to communicate what we feel, or else being accused of being difficult or moping. Cannot win. Story 10. The expectation that my default obligation to society is to sacrifice all my energy and resources on everyone else before I spend it on myself, even if the other people are hypothetical, and even if it is at the cost of my own body and well-being. Story 11. Never being fully safe. Whether it is walking at night or just existing online, there is always that underlying fear. Story 12. Living in a system not designed for our biology is challenging. The 9-to-5, 365 days a year schedule, when you have a monthly cycle with varying hormone levels and therefore varying energy levels and symptoms, is exhausting. There is a reason women end up with more chronic diseases. To clarify, I think we all, not just women, deserve to work less. Story 13. Healthcare. My uterus is literally killing me, but I have to try XYZ before they will give me a hysterectomy. I have surgery in a few days and hope it helps at least a little. I am also afraid of dying. I am not scared of death itself, but I worry about what would happen to my daughter if I did die. Story 14. The uneasy questioning. Do people think you are good with children because you are, or because you are a woman? Is the trainee snapping at you because you are not explaining the topic well, or because you are a woman? Are you less competent than your male coworkers? Or is it because you are female? Transgender people's stories about how they were viewed before and after transition show just how stark the difference is overall, but in your own life, it is hard to notice. Though the fact that I am apparently cursed to be bad at opening jars does not help. Story 15. The fact that I work a full-time job and am still expected to maintain 100% of the house and children is frustrating. If you want me to be your slave, at least make me a housewife. Story 16. Being called a bitch for being assertive. Being called spoiled for knowing what I want and not settling for less. Being called high maintenance for wanting to feel pretty for myself and healthy and taking steps to do so. Being called lazy for wanting my own downtime. Being called ungrateful for putting myself first. Or to sum up, the double standards. Story 17. I spend more than 25% of my life miserable, depressed, sick, and in pain because of an internal organ that I never intend to use. I cannot do anything about it because of the insane cost of medical care. The people running my state and country think that this organ is the only value I have and would force me to use it for its purpose, even if it cost me my life. Story 18. Being gaslit, ignored, and lied to by medical doctors is common. They constantly lie. Every medical procedure involving women's reproductive systems, whether it is an intrauterine device, pap smear, or biopsy, is always described as just a pinch that they believe does not require any pain medication or more than an over-the-counter Tylenol. If you experience pain, they think you are making it up. They do not listen and attribute everything to anxiety or being emotional and dramatic because of your gender. Unfortunately, even female gynecologists can behave this way. Story 19. I love being a woman, for the record. But if I could walk my dog one time without wondering if I should reach for my weapon, it would be so nice. If someone clearly isn't interested in talking with you, please don't approach. Just mind your own business. 2 men once followed me into a yard with their car because I said I didn't want to chat and wished them a nice day. I honestly think half the time they don't even mean to be rude. I think men just forget that a woman alone is vulnerable, and they should keep that in mind. I'm friendly. I'll say hello and keep walking. Please don't follow me. Story 20. The continued expectation that we will sacrifice, put others first, and defer to others is exhausting when you encounter it repeatedly and refuse to comply. Story 21. My body is free rein to be commented on. Edit/men, try not to make this about yourselves for once. Challenge. Story 22. There are always groups of people trying to subjugate you because you are a woman. These people are everywhere. Story 23. Sexual harassment, such as being honked at or whistled at in the street, started long before I had any understanding of my body or sexuality. I think that was really hard to contend with and gave me a long-term feeling of being prey and men being predators, which took a while to overcome. Story 24. Being expected to keep it together all the time. We have to be pretty, clean, nice, and reasonable constantly, or we are automatically labeled irrational or crazy. This is while balancing hormones that not only cause bleeding each month but also make you emotional, hurt, bloat, and change the shape of your face. Our appearance literally affects our career earnings. For example, women who wear makeup tend to make more money. I feel like no one takes me seriously without makeup on. Story 25. If you have children, you will always be judged more harshly because you are a mother. There is no other identity, just that. In my experience, fathers and men are not judged as harshly and are given more leeway to have their own separate identities. Story 26. Nobody takes you seriously. Got a position or a promotion? It's because you are screwing your way to the top or they wanted a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. If you're attractive, it's assumed everyone will spread rumors about you screwing your way up the ladder. If you're not, everyone will still spread rumors about you screwing your way up the ladder. If you were sexually assaulted or harassed, everyone suddenly assumes you are lying. But you are told people believe you even when many stand up for the person doing this. Stand up for yourself, and you are told off for premenstrual syndrome or hear, "Okay, Karen. If a man did this, he is just acting with confidence and charisma. Unless he is black, then he is a scary black man. Or short, then he is a Napoleon who needs to be taken down a peg." You face constant harassment online, but you are the bad one for taking issue with it. Please think of the poor fraternity boys. Your bodily autonomy is questioned constantly. Story 27. The general fear when a man gets mad at you is that he has the ability to do more harm to you than you can do defending yourself. Men are more likely to become physically aggressive. Story 28. The loneliness women feel after giving birth is often overlooked. Everyone is so happy that the baby is here and focused on making sure the baby is safe and loved. But what about the mother? I do my best to make sure my friends feel loved. A mutual friend is getting ready to have her baby in November. I am preparing meals to freeze and arranging a postpartum massage for her. Mothers need attention too. Story 29. The chronic sexual abuse and harassment that many women endure daily cannot be counted on fingers or toes. Story 30. There are many good examples here, but as a lesbian, it is frustrating that men do not take lesbian relationships or couples seriously. They only respect other men when it comes to couples. For instance, they will still flirt with my girlfriend in front of me or make inappropriate comments about her appearance because I am not a man, so it is not taken seriously by them. Story 31. Being dismissed and neglected by many in the medical field is disgusting and very anti-woman. I am not usually one to quickly shout anti-anything. I recently found an obstetrician-gynecologist who is made of gold and supports me completely, but there was a long line of various doctors, including general practitioners and gastroenterologists, who did not support me enough along the way. There is a strong likelihood I will be getting a hysterectomy soon, which will bring me much-needed relief. It should not have taken months or years of research and fruitless doctor visits for me to finally diagnose myself. My new obstetrician-gynecologist agrees with my suspicions. If just one doctor had acted earlier, I could have gotten the surgery sooner and regained my life sooner. Story 32. Not sure how to put it, but sometimes I feel like some men don't see us as people, or at least not on the same level as them. This was a while ago, but my friend and I, both girls, were hanging out with some guy friends. One of them brought along two new guys that night. The new guys went around the table one by one, asking everyone what majors they were. They asked each guy, completely skipped my friend and me, and then continued to the next guy. Still trying to figure out what that was about. Story 33. Peeing in the woods. I am so tired of peeing on my pants leg or the back of my shoe. The rest of my life is dreamy. Story 34. Being held to much higher standards at work and at home, and not receiving appropriate rewards for that. When you do get promoted at work, the rumor is always that you slept your way to the top. Seriously? Story 35. Constantly having to be assertive so people can hear you, in meetings, in relationships, or trying to buy something in a shop. Especially as a black woman, people often do not want to listen. You are treated as unintelligent until proven otherwise. Story 36. Living in a deeply misogynistic society is so universally accepted as normal that most people do not even notice it, much less question it. I was completely blind to it until my early 20s. When I finally made the connections and understood, it hit me like a brick to the face. It is everywhere, and it is impossible for me to go back and unsee it. Story 37. Not being believed. Not being believed unless your story comes out of a man's mouth. It does not matter if he is your brother, a friend, a boyfriend, or a spouse. His gender gives him precedence over your suffering, even if his advocacy repeats exactly what you have said 1,000 times. Her problems get dismissed until they become their problems. If there is no they, people will invent a theoretical man to prioritize over your wants and needs. Story 38. Knowing that no matter our education, experience, credentials, or certifications, some men will still discount or diminish everything we say purely because we are women. Story 39. I'm not a woman, but one of the biggest things I always hear from my wife is the overwhelming number of men who misconstrue her kindness and outgoing bubbly personality as interest in them. That usually results in an awkward situation where she has to turn them down. Sometimes they try to be persistent, and that is when I have to step in and tell them off. But if she tries to be more reserved, then they see her as being cold or unfriendly. I feel bad for my wife because it seems to be a huge challenge to find a balance. Story 40. Finding clothes that fit me properly is difficult. I wear a work uniform and need a bigger size to accommodate my bust, not just an extra 4 centimeters in arm length. These companies should offer women's sizes that consider the bust measurement while keeping the sleeve length the same. Sorry, this turned into a rant. Story 41. I think it is probably different for everyone. For me, it is gaining ground in academia. The presence of a womb really trips those people up. Story 42. Knowing that your instinct is to automatically move over so the man coming towards you on the sidewalk does not run into you because you know he is not going to break stride. That serves as a metaphor for everything. Story 43. No one ever takes you seriously. Not doctors, coworkers, friends, strangers, police officers, no one. No one truly respects anything you say until a man in your life supports you. If you do not have a man, you are automatically considered a liar who is apparently seeking attention. Story 44. Societal. Double standards related to youth and beauty. Biological, monthly menstrual cycles, body changes after childbirth, and menopause. Women's hormones fluctuate continuously, whereas men's hormones are relatively stable, affecting women's overall well-being. Women constantly advocate for reproductive rights. Professional gender pay gap. The duration of maternity leave in the United States is insufficient, negatively impacting women's emotional and physical well-being. Safety. Women must be more cautious. Political. Many issues pertain to this area. Marriage and children. Marriage often favors men. Studies show that household labor and child-rearing responsibilities are usually unequal, with women expected to perform unpaid caregiving and domestic work, sometimes sacrificing their careers while men continue advancing professionally. This dynamic works well only when both partners collaborate as a team, but historically, that has not always been the case. Women often feel pressured to have children before a certain age due to the biological clock, which is true, though men also have a biological clock, generally after age 40, but they tend to receive more flexibility. There are many positives to being a woman, though. Story 45. I just had a man explain to me what comedy is, why women don't value comedy the same way men do, and how funny women stand out because the average woman isn't funny and doesn't have a sense of humor like a man. He wrote entire paragraphs telling me about the female experience and how he is more qualified than a woman to know if women are actually funny or not. It is 2025. Story 46. Being seen as second-class citizens in a highly sexualized society, birth and menopause add stresses. As a man, I have always felt that women are fellow human beings, only conditioned from birth to fit society's expectations. Story 47. Our value to society seems to depend on our attractiveness. It is often one of the first things mentioned about us, whether positive or negative. When we are considered too old to be attractive, we become invisible. Story 48. Nobody believes any pain is real. Everything is sexualized. Even friends see me as a porn category. If I am sad, everyone is eager to comfort me, but only for brownie points. Nobody actually cares. Don't kill yourself, you're attractive. Gee, thanks. Story 49. The constant judgment and being held to a much higher social standard. Living in a world where men are considered the default sex. For example, with seat belts, gym equipment, chairs, office temperature settings, and work schedules. Story 50. Being sexually assaulted and feeling bad for telling people because I was afraid. Not that they wouldn't believe me, but that what happened to me multiple times wasn't that bad and that I'm an annoying attention seeker. Yes, multiple people I told said it's normal or that I shouldn't talk about it. Story 51. Realizing how prevalent hatred of women really is worldwide throughout history makes you feel like the world hates you. Story 52. I'm going to deviate from some of the common points to say this. Ovarian cyst rupture. I have always had a high pain tolerance. But when this happened, it had me screaming, shivering, sweating, fainting, waking up, screaming more, vomiting, crying. It brought me to my knees so fast, and all I could do was writhe on the bathroom floor, praying to God, begging that he would take me home already and put me out of such misery. It is horrifying. I really do hate some people in this world, but I would not even wish that upon the devil himself. Every single day, I live in fear that it will happen again. So I am jealous of everyone, man, woman, or in between, who has not gone through this. Story 53. Being vulnerable to sexual assault and forced impregnation by the other half of the population due to differences in upper body strength is distressing. I hate knowing this. Also, having to squat to urinate and experiencing menstruation can sometimes feel degrading, a feeling reinforced by language. Story 54. If I were to be assaulted, the perpetrator would most likely get away with little to no punishment and would remain in society to harm others or seek retribution for reporting. Violence against women is still not taken seriously enough in the law. Story 55. Not sure what the hardest part is, but I would say the best part is the privilege to have a little fun. Story 56. The fear. The fear that a first date could be opening the door to my potential rapist, abuser, killer. It's not usually a stranger who does these things. It's someone close to us, someone we trusted. The pain. Medical professionals dismissing pain symptoms as hysteria, hypochondria, or exaggeration, plus monthly cramps and back pain from bras. The condescending comments. Sweetheart, love, girl. The men are talking, and generally not being taken seriously. The judgment over clothing. Not only are we told we are asking for it or disbelieved entirely, other women are the worst for judging a woman's clothing choice. Story 57. Periods. Being heckled by men. Seeing men with their shirts off in hot weather and we can't do that. Yes, I'm jealous, but I can't do the same like you guys can. Story 58. Being generally not as strong as men, at least for me, my last two boyfriends would hit me, and it made me feel very small and afraid that I could not defend myself in dangerous situations with them. I still have nightmares. Story 59. Going through puberty, 45 years of cramps, mood swings, and bleeding, interspersed with life-threatening pregnancies and childbirth. Then painful menopause, thinning hair, and being a lonely widow because my best friend and husband was killed fighting in a pointless war where he was shot by an ally. 22 years of bitterness. Story 60. Terrifying cramps. It is very problematic to determine when and what to do to avoid the menstrual window, which is not fixed. This uncertainty often disrupts work, events, and daily activities in general. Story 61. The time, effort, patience, and financial burden required to look well kept as a woman are significant. Not to mention the journey to learn how to do these things. Story 62. The view of women that still exists in society is that women can be either immoral or pure, mothers or sexual beings, but not both. Story 63. Older men stare at me every time I wear something low-cut or short. Men just don't understand that someone looking attractive does not mean they want to be sexualized. Story 64. I can never really relax in public if I am alone because many men see women as potential objects. There is a high level of vigilance you must maintain to avoid getting groped, catcalled, or secretly recorded. Story 65. When men go from hitting on you to threatening to kill you in the time it takes to say no thank you. Story 66. It is not about a woman, but the lack of care, attention, and constant dismissal my partner receives from doctors that disgusts me. They fail her repeatedly and never show her the slightest respect. Story 67. Being young and having to deal with men who find you attractive because of your age and everything that comes with that was very unpleasant. I cannot believe what young women have to endure on a regular basis. Story 68. My grandmother worked and had 4 children. She did everything, and I love her for it. She was so sweet and smart. I just wanted to brag a little about my grandmother. I am horribly tired of doing everything. It is too much. Story 69. Perimenopause. I have lost myself and been replaced by a dumb, cranky, unmotivated stranger. Hormone replacement therapy is amazing and has helped so much, but the old me is a vague memory. I miss my beautiful arms. Story 70. It has to be, first place, the persistent threat of violent rape and murder. It is so much a part of women's lived experience that it takes work to notice or become aware of how ever-present it is. The male equivalent would be a slight man in prison. Wouldn't he fear this endlessly as part of the prison environment? That is women's lived experience. Dressing modestly, being overweight or getting old, or being a child are not much protection. Story 71. I cannot speak for everyone, but for someone who was born in America but is from a southeastern country, It feels like being treated as an object by in-laws. Not allowed to speak up, react, or be seen. Otherwise, face punishment. It is absolutely terrible. Just endure everything until you eventually tell yourself that you do not matter. Story 72. Being labeled the nurturing gender when deep down I am desperate for a man to nurture me. Why do men just get to do whatever and it is boys will be boys? I am tired, Grandpa. Story 73. The assumption that women must be kind, never speak up, be caretakers, be agreeable, be gentle, raise the family, and so on continues. For men, the expectation is just to work. Women do that and many other things. Story 74. As a man, the one I see affecting my wife a lot is beauty standards. My wife is beautiful without makeup. She should not be forced to wear makeup everywhere she goes to be presentable. Everyone is presentable how God made them. Even other women are mean to her about her looks. Story 75. The worst part about being a woman is having to defend my abilities and my strength to disbelieving men and women. Some people believe any man is stronger than every woman, others believe the average man is stronger than every woman, and still others believe even wilder things about the supposed inherent inferiority of my gender. I grew up working on a farm with horses. It did not matter if I was sick or injured. I worked very hard. There is no weakness here. If you can do it, I probably can too. Story 76. The constant shame. Do this? Shame. Don't do this? Shame. Do that? Shame. Don't do that? Shame. You are shamed for everything you do and do not do. You are shamed just for existing. You can lie and be lied to as much as you want. When you start looking at things critically, you will see that it is hopeless. Your only chance is to disregard it all and do your best to ignore it. That and the objectification. You are not a person. You are an object of some sort, usually reduced to a sex object. Some of my best examples are men comparing you to cars in terms of buying new versus used regarding virginity, and the anti-abortion activists comparing you to anything but a person, dehumanizing you down to a mere incubator. I have been referred to as an oven, cake in the pan, cabinet, fridge, microwave, and even an acorn. It is painful on an unexplainable level. Story 77. When I said I did not want children and neither did my husband, I requested a hysterectomy because birth control pills and intrauterine devices, which were the methods I used, were not helping alleviate the pain and heavy bleeding. It was negatively impacting my life with multiple absences from work, inability to eat, and sensitivity to light and sound. My female gynecologist said, "What if your next husband wants children?" When I said that wanting children was a deal breaker for me, she responded, "Yes, I thought that too. But I changed my mind and many people do." This showed complete disrespect for my relationship and my health choices. I was going to be dismissed by her until my answer matched what she wanted to hear. I finally found a doctor who listened to me. Additionally, every doctor dismissed my incapacitating period pain. There was a lack of pain management for procedures. My gynecologist forgot to tell me to take over-the-counter pain medication before my first intrauterine device placement, although it did not help with the second one. After my hysterectomy, I was given only a week's worth of ibuprofen. Story 78. Period. Especially if you suffer from premenstrual dysphoric disorder, childbirth, people only wanting to use you, all the unsolicited explicit pictures, feeling scared when walking alone, etc. Story 79. Being gaslit about your partner sexualizing and masturbating to other women, whether it is pornography, clubs, or similar, is not cheating. Story 80. Never feeling really safe when alone, especially at night. Men do not experience the energy it takes. We do this automatically. Putting keys between our fingers, keeping an eye on males nearby if no one else is around. Quietly watching vehicles moving a bit slower when passing by. Taking time to get my keys out first when heading to the car and glancing inside and around it as I approach to see if anyone might be there. Being more careful and keeping distance if a male stranger starts to talk to me or follows for too long. Not a big deal, just a bit. Story 81. Never feeling safe is a constant struggle. One of my biggest dreams is to walk alone at night with my earbuds in. I could do that now, but I would be terrified the entire time, so it is not worth it. Also, there is the expectation from others that I should be fine with getting pregnant and having children as soon as I become an adult. I am disgusted by that thought, and I am not strange for feeling that way. Story 82. Never having pockets is frustrating. I need to wear accessories to hold my things. It is annoying as a mother because I am holding things for 3 people. Story 83. Giving birth, menstruation, ovulation, dealing with men's unreasonable behavior. Misogynistic, sexist men trying to explain things in a condescending way to boost their own ego. Story 84. If you get emotional about something, it is not real. It is just your hormones. If you have an interest that is more associated with men, do not pursue it and invade their spaces or demoralize them. Story 85. Because I am a woman, I will always be seen as less credible. Many men and some women operate under the assumption that I am less intelligent until proven otherwise. Story 86. The fact that some older white men can decide to take away my birth control, even though it prevents debilitating menstrual cycles and hormone fluctuations. Story 87. Constantly feeling like you have to make yourself small in front of others. Do not ask for a raise. Do not brag about your accomplishments. Be humble. Do not be the loudest voice in the room. Demur when you receive a compliment. There is a reason why neurodivergence is more often overlooked in women. The internalized pressure to hide yourself starts young. Story 88. Aside from the biological or anatomical parts like giving birth and menstruation, I think it is the 2 S's for me: safety and society. Admit it or not, we women are not safe all the time. Our safety is far more at risk than men's. Whenever we do things alone, we do not feel secure, even in broad daylight. That alone is unfortunate. And society? I guess the past and the present speak for themselves. Women and men are not equal, at least not in the eyes of past generations. However, I am very glad that women nowadays are wise, independent, and strong in every aspect of life. Story 89. Living in a world and society made and created for men. Being in danger just for being a woman. If you are attractive, being harassed and never knowing if others have good intentions toward you. Physical and hormonal changes throughout life. Not to mention the menstrual period that lasts for half your life. Story 90. Trying to convince other women not to assume they are lesser and accept abhorrent treatment because they think that is all there is. Most women hate themselves and will vehemently tear down women who do not center men in their lives. Story 91. I am a man. My female friends told me the beauty standards and beauty expectations for women are difficult and create too much pressure in society. Story 92. They are forcing a deceased woman's body to circulate oxygen to organs to grow a fetus and see what abnormalities it will develop, while forcing her family, who does not support this, to bear the financial burden. The real concern is that we may soon be used as incubators from the moment we become pregnant. This situation is already terrifying with the current abortion restrictions. Now, doctors may be refusing treatment while we are still alive. In many places, having a miscarriage can result in a woman being imprisoned. Yet, some men still claim we are treated equally and that no laws oppress women. I strongly wish they would experience the consequences of their ignorance and understand the reality of oppression. Story 93. Periods, pregnancy, and birth. Being judged by appearance. Having to wear uncomfortable bras. Breasts bouncing when I work out. Taking more time to get ready. Staying safe and avoiding assault. Story 94. All aspects of body maintenance include the practical challenges of bras and periods, as well as the added societal pressure of eyebrow waxing and makeup. Story 95. Oh, the challenge of pregnancy 100%. A man just releases his sperm, and a woman potentially faces the physical trauma of childbearing, miscarriage, complications, permanent muscle damage, an increased risk of related health issues, and almost a year of her life rearranged to carry the pregnancy. This does not even include the emotional struggles of not wanting to become pregnant. It is a literal curse. I am not against having children, but the fact that the only way a woman can ensure pregnancy only occurs when she is ready is through abstinence, which does not account for rape, while men never have to worry about this, is truly unfair. And do not tell me about child support. What happens to a man's body when he impregnates a woman? Nothing. Story 96. Doctors took my concerns seriously. It took almost 2 years of my female gynecologist saying, "Hey, something isn't right," to my primary care physician for him to order tests. Turns out my health was not actually right, and it was more than just anxiety or the possibility of being pregnant. Story 97. At least where I am from, having the constant fear that I might get killed by the ones I love and there will be no justice for it. Story 98. Having a womb. Whether it is trying not to get pregnant, trying to get pregnant, dealing with periods, worried about your cycle, birth control, pregnancy and childbirth in general, postpartum, choosing to be child-free and being questioned because you do not have a child yet and when it is going to happen because you have too few children, too many, not being able to have any, or rape. This list could go on for a while. Story 99. As a young teenage girl, the hardest things I deal with in womanhood are periods and maintaining hygiene during them. I worry about blood stains and being treated differently because everyone assumes I will be difficult to live with during my period. I am also uncomfortable with the sexualization of our bodies. This discomfort is directly related to how much social media and Hollywood have sexualized women's bodies. I feel disgusted just walking past my mirror on the way to the shower. Story 100. For me, it is the pressure to look good all the time. But I live in an area with a lot of superficial people right now. When I lived in my old neighborhood where everything was more laid back, I could just look normal and unkempt, and nobody cared. Story 101. Being expected to sacrifice for others while not being allowed to make requests of others. Being both desired and despised. Seeing how many women are in the sunken place. Story 102. Fear that we will be assaulted or, if not that, harassed at every turn. You never really feel safe wearing certain clothes or going out at night. Story 103. That monthly reminder that your body has its own agenda, and no, it does not care if you have plans. Menstruation. The ultimate test of patience and resilience. Story 104. Being seen as a woman when I just want to talk or be friends, especially with straight men. Sometimes I wish I had another body just to be treated differently. Story 105. For me personally, the hardest thing about being a woman has been navigating life with a child. My ex-husband was very loving, but he became a cocaine addict, alcoholic, and cheater in the end. He convinced me to leave the love of my life to go back to him after a separation so we could raise our child together. Normally, it would have been pretty simple, and I would have stayed with the man whom I trusted and loved, who I met after my ex-husband. Because we had a child together, I felt like I needed to try to get my family back together. So, I broke up with the love of my life and went back to my ex-husband, only to realize that the situation was very difficult there. Even if my ex-husband had not relapsed, cheated, or hurt me for a very long time, I should have known that I would never feel comfortable anyway. Having a child fooled me into thinking I needed to be with his father. And that has been the hardest thing about being a woman. My maternal instinct pushed me to be with the father of my child, and then it pushed me to leave when I realized it was harming both my life and my son's life. In my opinion, I also want to add, never go back to a marriage after a separation just for the kids. There is a reason you are on track to divorce, and getting fooled will cost you dearly. It is like everybody says, you can't change him, sister. Once a cheater, always a cheater, and once an addict, always an addict in terms of relationships. Even if they get clean, you are risking drugs eventually being near your child. Not smart. So, yes, the hardest thing about being a woman is figuring out what is right for your child. In my case, I could have given him a wonderful stepfather, and I miss that man all the time. Story 106. Maintaining oneself becomes more expensive as you get older, and overall care is increasingly required. Story 107. Not being taken seriously at the doctor or being told that the constant tugging and pulling feeling I experienced during my period is normal and just anxiety. My mom had endometriosis, my sister has a fibroid, and I guess I got lucky with what might be female hysteria. Story 108. The pressure of having children and being the perfect mother while losing blood every month, looking after everyone else, doing the chores, and being the attractive wife everyone dreams of. Additionally, you need to be successful in your career too. Story 109. I cannot get treatment for endometriosis that is most likely encapsulating my ovaries. I look pregnant, and I can hardly walk. I cannot get a consultation appointment for another 2 or more months after my last appointment with a gynecologist, where she denied me care and sent me to pelvic floor therapy. The pain is so severe that morphine in the hospital did not even relieve it. I am not able to leave the house unless it is a doctor's appointment because if the pain gets too intense, I almost have to collapse to the floor, start sweating, and sometimes vomit. I bled heavily for 12 days and kept fainting from it. I will have to defer aviation school from this fall to next spring at the earliest. I am not trying to say all men are bad or hate men, but if a man had painful tissue encapsulating his testicles, could hardly walk from the pain, and was vomiting because of it, he would likely have already had surgery to remove that tissue. This has been going on for 4 months already, so with the 2 or more months I have to wait for another simple consultation, I would guess it will be 8 to 9 months before I even have surgery scheduled. My story is not unique. There are whole online communities where women share their stories of being denied care for not just months but sometimes years. I live in Idaho, where there are only 1 or 2 women's clinic locations outside of the 2 major hospital systems, St. Alphonsus and St. Luke's, and 1 Planned Parenthood. Story 110. Dealing with frightening situations on your own because you do not want to worry anyone while you are very scared. Story 111. It is hard to choose between sexual assaults and medical gaslighting when trying to get help for debilitating chronic pain, especially since medical gaslighting is closely connected to medical research being conducted on male bodies. Story 112. There are many difficult things about being female. I cannot really pin it down to one thing, but I will tell you as a 50-year-old woman, nobody tells you much about menopause. I do not think it has started for me yet, but I am concerned about all the symptoms I may or may not experience. I am not ready for it. Story 113. Assumed incompetence. I work in customer service. I was training a new employee, and he did not want to talk to me. He looked right through me and went to the male supervisor every time he had a problem, even if it was a simple question like, "Where do we keep this?" It wasted an insane amount of time, and I looked like a bad trainer because my trainee was inefficient and constantly going to other people. At the same job, male customers behave similarly. If they have an issue, they become short-tempered talking to me and request someone else. When a male coworker says exactly what I just said, they are suddenly happy to work things out. This behavior makes me look incompetent. It could also harm me financially if I were seeking a promotion since I already face a disadvantage when dealing with customers and my own coworkers. Outside of work, I have to be very careful about avoiding extra charges whenever I do anything related to my car. Mechanics talk down to me unless I bring a male friend or my dad. Otherwise, they ignore me completely. It was so anxiety-inducing that I delayed important repairs because I hated driving from garage to garage and arguing with mechanics. Those places made me feel insignificant. Eventually, I found a kind mechanic who acts like a grandfather and shows me every single thing before he touches it. I am very grateful. Even just getting my oil changed used to be a hassle before I started doing it myself because the Jiffy Lube employees would always be aggressive about trying to change my air filter or rotate my tires. I have had to tell workers multiple times to put the air filter back on my car because I am not paying for that. Apparently, that level of aggressive upselling has never happened to my male friends who go to the same places. I literally cannot live my life in peace without random men trying to test my competence. This does not even include men who hit on me randomly or try to hit on me while acting like I am an idiot. Rant over. Story 114. The fact that we live with the fear of potentially being murdered for reasons as small as rejecting someone's advances. Story 115. Subpar medical care. I am facing very likely permanent disability due to a medical condition that has no Food and Drug Administration approved treatment, not even any real off-label treatment, and most doctors do not understand it anyway. It affects over 1% of the population, but since approximately 80% of cases are women, I suppose no one cares. Story 116. We are expected to take on more responsibilities in every part of our lives than men, and we are held to a higher standard in almost every area. When we meet or exceed those expectations, we do not receive the same level of credit as a man would. However, when we fall short or fail outright, we face harsher criticism and are given far less grace. Story 117. Menopause is quite challenging. The hot flashes and hormonal changes cause significant effects in your body. I am through the worst of it, but it has been a difficult experience. Story 118. It is not actually the hardest thing in particular, but part of the main problem is deciphering health problems and whether or not they are caused by something related to your menstrual cycle. For me, right now at least, I am trying to figure out what is causing acne. Is it happening due to the menstrual cycle? Some other hormonal issue? Who knows? I have been getting acne along my jawline and on my neck for years, but in the last year or so it has gotten worse. It is kind of cystic, I guess. There are always hard bumps under the skin. Sometimes they turn into whiteheads, but they are never poppable. And if they are, they still never go away. They just return to being hard bumps. Also, they hurt. My dermatologist has been trying to treat it as hormonal acne and keeps asking if it gets worse with my menstrual cycle. I take continuous birth control and have not had a period in over 5 years. Apparently, this birth control can stop the menstrual cycle from happening. I believe I read that it affects about 30% of people taking it, but there is no real way to know if it has or has not stopped your cycle. So, is it my cycle? I do not know. I really do not know if I have one at all. I am almost 30 years old, not pubescent, and not at any stage of significant hormone changes. I just hate that every health problem, big or small, always has to start with sorting out whether the fact that I am a woman could be causing it. Many doctors will not go further than that. They simply say, oh, probably your cycle or hormones. But those things still exist, so can we investigate that a bit more, or am I just doomed? Story 119. The type of sexual activity considered the norm between men and women, which most women find little or no satisfaction in, is not ideal. Story 120. Being constantly underestimated. Your abilities, intelligence, knowledge, expertise, experience, capacity to handle a situation, humor, physical and emotional strength. Literally everything about you. Story 121. How little sympathy there is for postpartum conditions such as rage, depression, and anxiety. 30 to 40 years ago, women just lived with these feelings and never thought much about them. Now that I have a child, all of these feelings are seen as me being hormonal and immature. Women have experienced this for thousands of years and never complained as much as I do. Story 122. Not getting treated like a typical woman. I am not referring to the beauty standards most women talk about, but the expectations that all women are harassed and catcalled by men, that all women are never truly safe from men. These women do not know how truly hard it is to reach adulthood and still be so undesirable, and that nothing bad has ever happened. It destroys your mental health and makes you want to put yourself in dangerous situations with men just so you can feel like a woman. As a woman, I want to travel alone just so I can get drunk in another country and be approached by men. Story 123. Honestly, being sexualized without my permission is upsetting. Being seen as an object to be desired, and having that dismissed while the problem is ignored, only to be pushed as something empowering, is frustrating. The opposite is also irritating. Feeling ashamed for existing and needing to be covered. It is the same side of the coin. It is still sexualization. We are humans. We are all humans. Stop making us feel bad for merely existing. I dislike when I dress how I want to, feeling confident and good about it, and then get ogled. When people look at me in certain ways, it makes me feel disgusted. I know it's them and not me, but come on, I like women too, and I could never. When you know the person looking at you sees you for what may or may not be between your legs, it grosses me out so much. It's just unpleasant all around. Sure, someone can be good looking, and it's okay to mentally note that. But to ogle them silently, especially when you can tell you are being undressed with their eyes, it's just my least favorite thing about being female. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.